Hello, my name is Jorb. I love gear. I tried the OP-1 field today, and I would like to talk about it. I'm coming to you live from my Berlin hotel room. It's the middle of Super Booth. I'm very, very tired. So if I'm looking at my notes even more than usual, I'm sorry. I'm jet lagged and super tired. But I have to do this now because my thoughts are fresh and I want to get my opinion out there. So I tried the OP-1 field today. I want to tell you my impressions of it, what I did like, what impressed me, and then let's talk about the price because that's what you guys all want to hear about. So if you don't give a shit about what I think about actually using the keyboard, yeah, I'll put a chapter in there and you can just watch what I think about the price. But anyway, my experience with the original OP-1, I just bought a broken one and just got it fixed. So I had something to make my 9-hour flight on the way to and from Berlin actually useful and actually get something done. So I've been learning the OP-1 on this travel. So all my thoughts are very, very fresh, and I've been doing it with the intention of having an opinion because I just want to. I think the OP-1 is cool enough and unique enough that I should have an opinion of it, and I don't like to talk about things I haven't tried. So I'm trying the OP-1 in earnest, and when I'm done, the plan was to sell it, but that all happened right before the OP-1 field came out. If I do that video now with the OP-1 field out, that completely colors my opinion of it. That completely colors everybody else's perception of that video. So I'm definitely gonna rethink the framing of that. But just so you know, yes, I have enough hands-on experience in OP-1 to know what it's good at and what I do and don't like about it. All the footage off to the left here is me walking up to the Teenage Engineering booth and saying, hey, can I take a line out from one of these? The whole time I'm having conversations with William, who was working the booth. William, you were great. It was very, very nice to meet you. If there's bits of silence, I'm sorry, I was having a conversation. I'll try and splice it up to fit the length of this video as well I can, but also just some sounds in the background. I don't know how good they are, how interesting they are. Basically, I'm saying, please don't complain about that video because I walked through the woods to a tent and set up my camera and got my audio recording. But there's your proof that I touched one and I got to use it. I'll try to do this quickly. I do have notes down. I'm sure I will get off track. But one of the first things William said is it's the OP-1, but better. And that was the idea. Is what is the OP-1 good at? Where does it excel? How can we lean further into that? And how can we make the things that weren't great a little better? And I think in a lot of ways they did achieve that. Really high-level improvements like stereo existing in more parts of the unit, really the whole way through all the effects, the synth engines, the sampling, it's all stereo now. Higher quality DACs, a better speaker, USB-C. Those are all like modernization improvements. Those are like advancements in the last 10 years, what's more acceptable now. And all that's good and all that's expected. But there's other changes that feel born out of feedback and not just the technology's in a different place. Things like having 8 different tapes. You can have different projects that you're working on at the same time. That surely came up because one of the first things people would complain about is I can only have one project at a time. And it's not even easy to pull it off and put it back on to the OP-1. And so having the option to have multiple, great. And that feels totally born out of feedback. Mother, the new reverb effect, sounded quite good to me while I was listening to it in my headphones. And I can only assume that comes from people saying Spring is bad. Spring doesn't sound that great. And you know, there were jokes about it made today, but I think that's from feedback. They put a new reverb effect in and it's in stereo. And Spring is in stereo now too, and we've been told that it works a little bit better. That all feels like it's from feedback. And my favorite, while I was working with the original OP-1, one of the first things I said, one of my first complaints, was I really wish I had a normal subtractive synthesis engine. And now on the field, you have one. I can't remember the name of it right now, but you select a waveform and you have a resonant filter that you have control of right there within the synth engine. You aren't giving up one of your effects to be your filter for a subtractive synth. And that to me is so much more immediate, so much more hands-on. But to me, the two things the OP-1 does really, really well, the tape is unique. Working your end goal for the audio in the OP-1 is 4 tracks of audio, 4 tracks of tape. That's totally unique and it's a fun and interesting way to work. Separately, what is not my favorite part of the OP-1, but I feel defines its experience, it's inviting to explore and turn parameters even if you aren't sure what they're going to do. It has this visual feedback for things that you might not totally understand and nothing's labeled in a way that's totally descriptive, and that encourages you to explore and try new things. I don't love that. I'm at a point where I would rather know exactly what I'm controlling. I'd rather see the value. I'd rather the parameter be named, something that makes sense to me. And there seems to have been some acknowledgement of that. As far as just being esoteric at all, there is sort of a on-device quick start that'll step you through getting through the different modes and ends with a QR code to bring you to the full manual. I think that's good. There's a physical manual included now, again, for people learning. And on the topic of values on screen and understanding what you're tweaking, some of the existing synth engines now tell you the value of a parameter as you update it. Some have those labels on screen all the time. So those are, again, definite improvements from the perspective of what people have said. I could go on and I could look through a list, but those are the things that I remember standing out. I like the different styles of tape. I think that's leaning into, again, the way people use the OP-1, the way they like to use the OP-1. I think that's a good move, but you really get the point. There are legitimate improvements here. There are certainly people listening to feedback. Teenage engineering is on the internet. They're hip enough to know what we've all said about the OP-1, and I'm sure they've taken a lot of that into account for developing this. And why it's not that different, actually a lot like Roland's move with the SP404 Mark II, even naming it the 404 Mark II and designing it in the same form factor. All that is because they recognized people just liked that. Let's give it some modern flair. Now, I'm not saying this is a similar type of an upgrade, but that acceptance that, hey, our customers like this a lot, let's give them more of that. And they seem to be in the right place as far as calling this the OP-1 field, not the OP-2, because it shares a lot of the synth engines and the workflow ideas and everything. Anyway, to be honest, if I have anything negative to say about the experience sitting down with the OP-1 field, it was really, really hard to see the screen in the bright outside daylight. I don't know if the brightness setting was turned all the way up, which I know you have control over, or if as a pre-production unit, the screen isn't exactly as bright as it would be, or if this was just a particularly bad day for screen visibility. But I don't think poor visibility outside is necessarily a make or break for anybody. I do think it's a beautiful piece of instrument design, and it's fun and unique to use, but it's $2,000. And am I surprised to learn that it's going to be that expensive? I mean, only a little bit ago, I learned that Teenage Engineering sells t-shirts for $500, so maybe I shouldn't be, but it still kind of hurts to hear $2,000, because at that price, I'm not really willing to buy one. I had to buy an original OP-1 broken, and I have to sell it as soon as I'm done. I can't be putting $1,000 towards this, even if I care about it. I don't have a proper job. I have scattered bits of income coming in through in other places because of YouTube. I'm not destitute right now. I'm gonna try and ride that as long as I can, but it really means I'm not in the tax bracket to buy the new OP-1, and that disappoints me. And to be clear, I don't think it's because Teenage Engineering owes me the OP-1 field being affordable. I don't think they owe it to me to put anything in any specific price bracket. It's just because I find it challenging to put $2,000 on a single purchase of anything. They designed something wonderful, and they get to price it however they want. And if I'm not willing to pay for it, that's because I'm not in the target demographic. Not necessarily because they made a mistake, not necessarily because they're wrong for asking that much, but I'm not the target market anymore. And yeah, that sucks, and I can be disappointed that I'm not, but I can't be mad about it. If they made some iteration of this idea of working with, you know, an all-in-one workstation that bounces down to tape, that was $600, I'd be over the moon, but that's not what Teenage Engineering wants to be. Whether it's the right move or not to shift their market as high as they possibly can, I guarantee you they thought about it. I guarantee you they considered the impacts of putting this high in the mixer, putting the mixer where it's at, and they've decided they're comfortable being that ultra premium option. And it's not even fair to call them the Apple of synthesizers anymore because it is more luxury. I don't know a luxury enough car brand to make the comparison because Apple charges $2,000 for a fucking computer. If we consider the OP-1 like a groove box, like if we compare it to other groove boxes, okay, you don't have to agree with this line of thinking, but just for a moment, think of it like a groove box, and you just know that you want a groove box, right? You can spend $2,000 on this, or you could get a circuit for less than $300 or whatever they are. A factor of 10 is pretty dramatic for any industry where not necessarily you, not necessarily me, but you can see the output of those two devices as the same thing. I sat down and I made a beat. I sat down and I made a track with this device. But if you don't, and you see the OP-1 as unique, which I really would understand, maybe the only alternative is an original OP-1. But why? It's $2,000 for a reason. And is it just the price of the parts? Probably not. Do they think their design work is worth the premium? Maybe. Do they just want to be seen as a luxury item? Maybe. Do they want it to exist, you know, in a parallel product line with the original OP-1 and sell those to different markets, different price ranges? Who knows, but whatever it is, they're committed to it. They're committed to doing it this way. So let me summarize. The OP-1 field sounds great, it looks great, it's unique, but it's probably not something I'm gonna buy. And Teenage Engineering priced it this way on purpose. But whether that's the right move for the market or the right move for their business in general, we'll have to wait and see. I'm sure they'll sell tons, but what about you? I think you need to sit down, look in the mirror, and say, would I rather have an OP-1 field or 4 white t-shirts? So, there you go. My name's Jorb. I love gear. Grateful to be here, grateful to try it. Thank you for your support. More Super Booth coverage to follow. Thanks for watching. Cheers. And so long.